Hi there, welcome to Seasonal, the platform where we speak truth to power. You're watching Seasonal, the platform where we speak truth to power. As ever, please, we'd like you to subscribe to Seasonal, the platform where we speak truth to power. How did you do that? Go ahead, subscribe to Seasonal, hit the notification button, and of course, give us a thumbs up. Help us reach more people. We're truly grateful for your support, and it's really, really important. Now, I think one of the things that we need to know, I'm talking about this now, is this France, the role of France in destabilizing Africa is simply because of one particular key central issue. Many of us haven't been aware, or maybe we haven't connected it. France is one of the founding members, okay? So you can see it on the screen. France is one of the founding members of the UN since 1945. It has been a member of the UN Security Council, where it sits as a permanent member alongside United States, China, United Kingdom, and of course, Russia. So, what does that mean? How does that impact what it does in Africa? It means that France can do whatever it wants anywhere in the world, including Africa, and there will be no comeback because France has what they call a veto. France has a veto power. If somebody that hasn't from any country they says no, we want to go and table a motion in the United Nations and say France is doing X, Y, and Z in my country, and we want to put a stop to it. France will veto the tabling of that motion from that country because they are permanent members. I want you to understand that. And how does that impact what happens in Africa? That means that they are doing what they're doing in Africa. They have been doing it for so long because of the veto powers that they've had since 1945. We need to understand that as Africans. We must understand that France has veto powers. That is something. That's one of the reasons as African countries we should actually vote with our feet and withdraw ourselves from the United Nations. Because United Nations, all the three countries that I'm about to mention, the UK, US, and France, they have veto rights. And of course, China and Russia. But the people that are doing the exploitation, the most exploitation in most cases, these three, UK, US, and France, they have veto powers. That veto powers, it protects them from other countries being able to table a motion to expose their crimes, the crimes that they are that they're accusing others of. It prevents that from being tabled because they have veto powers. On the basis of that alone, African countries should come together and actually pull out en masse, and including all of the African other countries like Haiti and Caribbeans. We should pull out of the United Nations because the veto powers is being used to actually oppress and suppress the southern countries in the world by these powers, using the veto powers. So let me give you an example of how these veto powers really impacts things. Let us go and look at what France has done. Because with that veto power, they carry out atrocities with impunity. So here is one example of that. Burkina Faso. The French have attempted to take out France. And French have attempted to take out the Ibrahim Traore through a coup in a foreign country in Africa. This is what the powers of veto that France has allows it to do. Because for as long as anybody says anything, they are not going to be allowed to even say it in the national in the United Nations. They put a veto on it, so there will be no vote on it. There will be no vote to actually say, right, we actually find France guilty of this, and we are going to table a motion to put make sure France faces the consequences of its actions in attempting a coup in a sovereign state. That is the reality of what we face. So let's read on. This is what the Ibrahim Traore, the Mali, the people of the people of Burkina Faso have accused the French of. Listen. So Burkina Faso military government said Wednesday, which was the 28th of September, it had foiled a coup attempt by the previous day, almost a year after the country's leader came into power in a coup himself. We're not demoting. Listen, I don't actually call what Ibrahim Traore did. I don't call it a coup. I call it an intellectual realignment, very much like our great mother, Dr. Arika Nashon calls it. It's an intellectual realignment, and of course, there you see Ibrahim Traore there. So let's read on. Let's read on. It's important to understand this. So of course now we're going to read on here. So in a statement, sorry, 1 minute, I'll come back. In a statement read out on the state television, it said a proven coup attempt was foiled on September 26, 2023 by Burkina Faso's intelligence and security services. At present, the officers and other alleged participants in this destabilization attempt have been arrested and others are being actively sought. It said the alleged perpetrators had the sinister intention of attacking the institutions of the republic and plunging the country into chaos. Junta-led Captain Ibrahim Traore seized power on September 2022, the landlocked country's second coup in 8 months. Now, let us be very, very clear. You see, when they say junta leader, this is an attempt to actually turn those readers against a psychological attempt to turn the people, the readers, and everybody else, to turn them against the Mali government, the intellectual realignment government that are legitimately working for the people of Niger and for the people of Burkina Faso. So it's use of words in a clever way. Keep in mind, the French have permanent veto rights in the UN. Anybody was supposed to actually go and actually table a motion that what France did against Burkina Faso in a sovereign country, that they committed an offense, France would just simply veto it. And this is the kind of injustice that we face in the world. And that is why, as African countries, we need to begin to relook at how we actually, do we want to continue to be in part of these organizations whereby the atrocities that the so-called permanent members, 3 of them colonials, till date, the atrocity they carry out is always hidden. It's never revealed. Now let's read on. At present, officers and other alleged participants in this destabilization attempt have been arrested and others are being actively sought. It said the alleged perpetrators had the sinister intention of attacking the institutions of the republic and plunging the country into chaos. Junta leader Ibrahim Traore seized power September 30th, 2022, the landlocked country's second coup in 8 months. So that's what they said. Now, the 2 takeovers were triggered by the discontent at failures to stem a raging jihadist insurgency which has swept in from foreign Mali in 2015. Now, you see, they are putting all the blame everywhere else. When the French say they're actually going to try and prevent jihadism, what they are actually doing is promoting it because they want wars to happen in resource-endowed countries like Burkina Faso so they can exploit resources while the fighting is going on. All of this is afforded them because they are permanent members of the UN. Were they not to be permanent members, they will be held accountable for every single atrocity that they have been carrying out. But because they're permanent members, it won't be allowed to be tabled on the UN floor. It is important to really understand the connection between the UN veto powers that they possess and their actions on ground, because they know that they can simply snuff out any attempt to expose them. And they come out and, we are holding them down nonsense. We need to understand what is going on. So now, later Tuesday, thousands of people took the streets of the capital, Ouagadougou, following a call from Traore supporters to defend him and rumors of a coup on social media. The military government said it would seek and shed all possible light on this plot. It said it regrets the officers whose oath is to defend their homeland has strayed into undertaking of this nature, which aims to hinder Burkinabe people's march for sovereignty and total liberation from the terrorist hordes trying to enslave them. Earlier this month, the country's military prosecutor said 3 soldiers had been arrested and charged with plotting against the ruling junta. Investigators had revealed a tip-off about soldiers and former soldiers working in intelligence who were scouting out homes and other locations used by key figures in junta, including Traore. Their goal was to destabilize the transition, it said, referring to them to a term used to describe interim military rule before promised elections. Shortly after Traore's takeover, military prosecutors in December 2022 also said there had been an attempt to destabilize state institutions. Those behind it, they said, were civilians and a lieutenant colonel named Emmanuel Zungrana. More than 17,000 civilians and troops have died in jihadist attacks in Burkina Faso, according to the country, by an NGO monitor called Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ISLED. Over 2 million people have been uprooted, making it one of the worst internal displacement crises in Africa. Anger with the Burkinabe armed forces led to a coup in January 2022, toppling the president Roch Marc Christian Kabore. On September 30th, Kabore nemesis Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Dimiba was himself overthrown. Last week, the government claimed nearly 192,000 internally displaced people had returned to their homes after various regions were retaken by government forces. Jihadist attacks continue unabated despite government claims to have wrestled back territory. Now, this is, you see, I'm reading this to you because you see, France 24, of course, you know, it is a French paper. So everything that you need to be reading double speak in what they're saying. Because every time they're saying that, despite the fact that they say they've returned people, they are trying to weaken, they are trying to make the appearance of what the Mali intellectual realignment government of Ibrahim Traoré is doing. They're trying to weaken it and make people turn against it, both psychologically and, of course, send the message to prepare and allow more. Don't be surprised there's going to be more coup attempts against Ibrahim Traoré, because they don't want what has happened in Niger. I don't know if you've heard. Niger sells its own uranium at the world market price of 200 euros per kilogram. Whereas under the French imposition on a so-called sovereign nation in Niger was forced by France to be selling the uranium in its own country that France has taken for over 40 years. They were forcing Niger to sell the uranium at 80 cents per euro. 80 cents in the euro. 80 cents. Can you see? And now that Niger has broken free, Niger is selling it at the world market price of 200 euros per kilo. So you can see that France wants to continue to oppress and suppress Africa. And it is allowed to do that because it is guaranteed that to continue unless we take collective action. It is guaranteed that under the guise of these veto powers, the veto powers that France has in the United Nations means that it commits atrocities that remains unhidden, and they are not forced to account for the atrocities that has been done by France on the African soil. So we have to rethink whether of what use is Africa being a member of the UN. And of course, all the bodies, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, they are simply disinformation groups designed to destabilize Africa, to ensure that everything that Africans try to do never comes to success. And under the guise of protecting Africans, these NGOs actually destabilize Africa, working with these colonials. These are the realities of what we face, and we need to address it. So, of course, we are exposing this. Many may not be aware. We support and we salute the great work of Ibrahim Traoré, the great man you see in the picture there. He's a great man, somebody that we all, I am certainly as an African, I'm proud of what he's doing in Africa. Please don't get me wrong. I do not in any way, shape or form support anybody in Africa coming to Europe and destabilizing Africa, and coming to Europe and destabilizing Europe. No, I would be against it. If an African did that in Europe, I would be against it. Equally, I'm against Europeans coming to Africa to destabilize Africa. I want to make that very, very clear, because I don't want people to be construing what I'm saying. I'm being very, very clear and direct in what I'm saying. What is currently going on under the guise of trying to help the people build democracy, and many of the colonial countries are actually destabilizing Africa because they are fixated on the mineral resources of Africa. As I speak to you, one of the things I'd like to say towards the end, the rate of the French francs, which, by the way, let's not forget, the French, they imposed CFA on 14 of the African countries. Now, Niger have pulled themselves out. The others are still under that CFA, and I'm sure Mali and Burkina Faso is trying to do the same thing, pull themselves out. And under that guise of the CFA is only what 0.0015 of a cent of European cent. It's not even up to 1 cent. That means that they're buying. That's why you see they could buy 1 kilo of uranium from Niger at 80 cents. But now that Niger has forcibly removed himself from the shackles of colonialism, they are now selling it at the world market prices. So I'm saying this, that we need to understand that as Africans, when we wonder why is it Africa and France is doing this and nobody's doing anything, because they're part of the group who set up that body, and they are using the powers of veto to carry out atrocities and preventing those atrocities from being exposed on the floor of the UN. That is what we have to understand. Many go and look at the atrocities by all those permanent the 3 permanent members, UK, US, and France. They are not being able to hold accountable because why? They have permanent membership veto rights, and that should be removed. As Africans, I think we need to go and look at resetting up our own bodies and pulling out of a body that is clearly designed to ensure that those who are committing crimes against Africans get away with it scot-free. So I just wanted to just make this point here. We support, of course, Ibrahim Traore, the great man from Burkina Faso, and he's set up a program of actually infrastructure rebuild across the whole of Burkina Faso, and we'll come and cover that directly itself. We will do another program on that shortly. But what I wanted to really do is to highlight and make us understand that when we talk about France, many of us are unaware of the France being one of the founding members, and as a result, they have veto powers. Those veto powers, they are being used to illegally loot African resources, you see, where it is a permanent member. As a permanent member, you can veto anything that goes against your interests. So that means that they put the interest of the French people first against that of the Niger people, whom they are exploiting, taking the resources, that of the Burkina Faso, in fact, the whole of Africa. The same thing goes for UK, the same thing goes for US. So we need to understand how damaging this veto powers is on the economy of Africa. And we as Africans need to address that collectively. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to stop here. I've really explained that. So there's a connection between the veto powers and how they use it to loot African resources, knowing that nobody will be able to hold them to account because they are permanent members of the UN. And we need to address that. It is something that we as Africans need to collectively address. And we need to be discussing this and working out our own alternative organizations where nobody, France should not, with that veto powers there, we should not even be trading with France. We should say, no, we're not interested. You are here to exploit us. We want nothing to do with you. We cannot table or complain about the injustice that you're imposing on us as sovereigns in our own land. We want no business with you because you are here to loot, and we have had enough. And that means that we should create our own bodies. That is my suggestion. How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts on this? Let us hear your views on it. You're, of course, watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. And, of course, we salute Ibrahim Traore for standing up for Africa. He's not only standing up for the people of Burkina Faso, but he's standing up for the whole of Africa. And all of us must emulate his actions. And of course, General Chiani of Niger, they are in the similar steps. Mali's Goita, and of course Dombaye of Guinea. So, but we are saying this. We need to understand that those veto powers by the colonials they don't see African countries as sovereigns. They see them as the spheres of interest. That is all it is, and we have to understand that as Africans and begin to work collectively to free ourselves. Africa is still not free. I'm glad that Burkina Faso and Niger are showing the way. Others must rapidly do what they are doing to free Africa completely from the shackles of colonialism, exploiting Africa till date. Ladies and gentlemen, you are of course watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Our Battletron. Please share this podcast. If this resonates with you, share, and share. Thank you, and bye for now. One more thing before I go, please go ahead. Subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube. Let us do this. Go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe to Citizen AY. Hit notification button, and of course, give us the thumbs up. We really appreciate your support. Help us grow the platform. Help us reach more people. This platform is for all Africans. Of course, we do put some focus on Nigeria because I'm from Nigeria. But it's for me, Nigeria is not. It's just a geographical expression of the colonial sphere of influence. I am a Yoruba man, and I'm focusing on bringing out the great Yoruba spirit among Yorubas, and a renaissance in pride in our culture, our food, our language, our traditions. Before the corrosion and the dilution that the colonialism has brought, which we must rapidly begin to reverse. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Balatron. Let us hear your thoughts on this. France has veto powers. That is why it is carrying out atrocities on Africa, and we have to look at how we, as African, as a continent, maybe it's time for us to remove ourselves completely from under the UN and set up our own bodies that will protect and ensure that no exploitation by colonials will take place on the African continent. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Back later on. Thank you and bye for now.